All right, so someone reached out wanting to do a deep dive on deciphering the questions women ask when they're interested. Like he's trying to crack some kind of code.
Well, it's interesting because it highlights this thing we all do, right? Regardless of gender, I think. We use questions to kind of feel things out without maybe being too direct, especially early on in dating.
Yeah, dip your toe in the water before you jump in.
Exactly. And this whole dance of questions, it's actually really rooted in the psychology of relationships. You see, there's this concept called self-disclosure reciprocity. Basically, when someone shares something kind of personal, it often triggers a reciprocal response.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like we feel compelled to share something back.
Because she's not just trying to get to know you, she's trying to get you to open up too.
Exactly, yeah. By asking you questions that require you to reveal a little bit about yourself, she's subtly encouraging that back and forth.
Interesting.
And that builds connection, And what's fascinating about the source material is how it sort of groups these questions thematically. It's not just about decoding individual questions, but understanding like the deeper desires that they might reveal.
Okay.
Right.
So let's dive into those themes then. One of the big ones that jumps out from this is ambition and direction in life.
Yeah.
Like, what do you look for in a woman? Do you have any big goals or dreams? And where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Right.
It's like the classic list of questions.
Yeah, and these might seem like, standard getting to know you fare, but they're actually pretty loaded.
Okay.
Take the first one, for example. What do you look for in a woman?
Yeah.
It's easy to fall into the trap of just like listing off qualities,
Right.
But what she's really looking for is to see if your vision like aligns with her reality.
Oh, like she's picturing herself in that description you're giving.
Exactly. And beyond the like specific qualities, she's paying attention to whether you even have a clear idea what you're looking for at all. Right. It suggests you're like self-aware, you're intentional,
Right.
which are attractive qualities in a potential partner.
Right. So it's not even just about finding someone who checks all the boxes. It's about demonstrating you even have a list to begin with.
Exactly. And that segues perfectly into the question about big goals or dreams.
Right.
Whether you're, an aspiring entrepreneur or passionate about pottery, having passions, it suggests you're the kind of person who, like, actively shapes their life, not just lets life happen to them.
Right. You have that, like, spark, that ambition.
Yeah.
And it can be,
It's contagious.
contagious. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
have you ever noticed that? Like, when you're around someone who's really excited about something, it rubs off on you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh.
And from, like, a psychological perspective, it taps into our desire for growth and fulfillment. We're drawn to people who, inspire us to become better versions of ourselves.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. And then, so where do you see yourself in 5 years? It's not really about having like the perfectly crafted life plan.
No.
It's more about, I don't know, understanding your trajectory, like where you're headed, and
Right.
can she see herself as part of that future?
Exactly. She's looking for those clues about your values, your priorities, and whether your paths could potentially, like, converge down the line.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like she's, mentally trying on different versions of the future, and she wants to know, like, do you fit into the picture?
Right, and it's so fascinating how these questions can reveal so much, I think, about what we're looking for in a connection,
Yeah.
even if we don't realize it.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And speaking of deeper desires, the source material also kind of delves into questions that touch on lifestyle compatibility and shared values.
Okay. Like, what's your usual Friday night like?
Exactly, yeah.
The classic.
That might seem like, just a simple icebreaker, but think about it.
Yeah.
Friday night, it's often when we get to, like, unwind and express our true selves after a long week.
Yeah, it's like a glimpse into your personal playground.
Precisely, yeah. So when she asks about your Friday nights, she's really trying to envision, like, what would it be like to spend that time with you?
Right.
Right? Is it a quiet night in with the movie, a night out dancing, or something, completely different?
Yeah. And it's not necessarily about finding someone who has to match your like exact Friday night preferences, but it's more about understanding how you each like to kind of recharge and if those styles complement each other.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
It's about finding that balance between, like, shared experiences and respecting each other's need for, independence.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Okay. So then there's this other question. What kind of music are you into?
Music. It's such a powerful window into our souls, isn't it?
It really is, and I've always felt like musical taste especially reveals so much about our personality, our experiences, our values even.
Exactly, yeah. And when she asks about your musical preferences, she's not just looking for common ground.
Right.
She's trying to gauge whether, your vibes are compatible.
Like if you're on the same wavelength,
Yes. Yeah,
you get each other.
exactly. And if she, mentions loving a band you mentioned earlier, that's definitely worth, paying attention to.
Oh yeah.
Psychologically, that type of, mirroring can be a sign of attraction and a desire to, build rapport.
It's like a subtle way of saying we get each other without saying it.
Exactly.
Okay. Now we're getting into some of these questions, and they feel a little bit more direct. Some of them even a little flirty.
Okay.
Like, how come a guy like you is still single?
Yeah. That's a great example of a question that kind of combines a compliment with genuine curiosity.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
It acknowledges that she finds you, attractive, intriguing, whatever. But it also opens the door to understanding, your relationship history.
Yeah, it's like she's saying, I see you and I'm interested, but is there something I'm missing?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And from a psychological standpoint, asking this question can actually make her feel vulnerable too.
Really?
Yeah, because it reveals that she's at least considering you as a, potential partner.
Right.
And that takes courage.
Because she's putting herself out there a little bit.
Exactly, yeah. And speaking of vulnerability, let's talk about, do you believe in soulmates?
Ooh, okay, now this one feels like it's going beyond just casual getting to know you territory. This is like tapping into deep beliefs about love and relationships.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's important to remember that she's not necessarily looking for you to have, all the answers about soulmates and destiny.
Right.
What she's really trying to understand is, your overall romantic philosophy.
Okay, so are you a hopeless romantic? Are you a pragmatic realist? Or somewhere in between?
Exactly, yeah. It's about understanding your approach to love and whether your, views align with hers.
Because if she's a diehard believer in soulmates, and you're like, love is a choice, that could be rough.
It could be a point of friction down the line, for sure.
Okay. And then another question. Do you go to the gym? This one always makes me chuckle because it's it's such a classic dating app question.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, I've totally asked this myself.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's natural to be curious about someone's, lifestyle choices, especially when it comes to, health and well-being.
Right.
But it's also interesting to consider, the psychology at play here.
Right, how much of it is about genuine interest in fitness versus just ooh, I'm attracted to someone who takes care of themselves.
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It's do you care about my workout routine or are you complimenting my biceps right now?
Exactly, yeah. It ties into the halo effect.
Mm-hmm.
This tendency we have to attribute, positive qualities to people we find physically attractive.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if she's noticing your dedication to fitness, she might also be, subconsciously associating you with other positive traits.
No, okay.
Like discipline, goal orientation, self-respect.
Okay. So it's those positive qualities are getting a boost because you're at the gym.
Precisely, yeah.
Yeah.
And if she follows it up with something like, it shows, well, that's a pretty clear signal that she finds you attractive.
It's a little flirtation disguised as a question about exercise.
Exactly.
Okay. And then, I think this is kind of the last one in this sort of romantic deep dive. Do you want kids?
Ooh.
Hmm.
Yeah, that one can feel heavy, especially in the early stages of dating.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember that, again, it's not necessarily about, setting a wedding date right then and there.
Right. It's just more about, I don't know, understanding your long-term life goals and whether those could potentially align down the line.
Yeah. Exactly. What's important here is, honesty and openness. If she's envisioning, a family in her future, it's natural to wonder if you share that vision.
Right, and being upfront about your desires, even if they don't perfectly match, at least shows a certain level of, I don't know, maturity and a willingness to have those conversations.
Precisely, yeah. And it allows you both to, make informed decisions about whether your paths are ultimately headed in the same direction.
Yeah, it's refreshing, to hear someone advocating for honesty and clarity in dating, especially when it comes to those big life questions.
Absolutely, yeah. And it speaks to a larger theme here about effective communication in relationships in general.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just trying to decode these hidden meanings, you know? Wouldn't it be easier to just like ask directly and share our thoughts and feelings openly?
You know, it's funny you should say that. The source material actually touches on that with, it talks about the repeat question. Have you ever noticed how when you're really interested in someone, like certain questions just seem to come up again and again?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And that repetition, it's not just a coincidence, you know?
Yeah.
It's a powerful signal that she's genuinely interested and wants to like delve deeper into that particular topic.
Like they're highlighting something about you
Exactly.
that they find really interesting.
And so if you find yourself fielding the same question twice, you know, don't shy away from it.
Right.
Embrace the opportunity to like elaborate, to share more of yourself and see where the conversation leads.
It's a chance to go beyond just the surface.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, we've talked a lot about deciphering the questions she's asking,
Yeah.
but the source material also emphasizes the importance of paying attention to what lights you up.
Yes.
Like the question, what are you passionate about, might seem simple, but it's actually a really great opportunity to showcase, like, your best self.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Passion is contagious, and when you
Yeah.
talk about something you genuinely love, it shows, you know?
Yeah.
Your energy shifts, your eyes light up.
Yeah, that excitement is kind of irresistible.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And from a psychological perspective, passion is often associated with, other attractive qualities,
Okay.
like drive, creativity,
Wow.
just a zest for life.
So don't hold back.
Yeah.
Let your enthusiasm show.
Exactly, yeah. Because ultimately, the most fulfilling connections are formed when, both people feel seen, heard, and appreciated for who they truly are.
And that brings us to such an important takeaway, I think, from this whole deep dive. While it's fun to, analyze all the nuances of communication and try to decode hidden meanings, the most effective approach to building any kind of genuine connection, romantic or otherwise, is through direct and open and honest communication.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
So as you navigate the world of dating, just remember to be your authentic self, communicate your needs and desires clearly, and look for partners who do the same.
Because at the end of the day, the best way to know if someone's truly interested is to create a space where both of you feel comfortable sharing your thoughts and feelings openly and authentically.
Beautifully said, yeah. And who knows,
Yeah.
that kind of genuine connection, it might just lead to something really, really special.
And there you have it. Another deep dive successfully navigated. Until next time, keep those conversations flowing, keep those questions coming, and keep those connections sparking.